Naturally, I know what you're thinking. If you have followed me at all over this past week, if you subscribe to this YouTube channel, the instant reaction perhaps to seeing this video uploaded was, what else? What else could he possibly have to say? And as I've sat here all day on Sunday, May 4th, just mere hours later after her match with Nanae Takahashi, after Mayu Iwatani's debut in Marigold, I'm just left with final thoughts and an amount of appreciation that I feel like I didn't get to fully say in my hours upon hours of recording. And maybe it's because now that the week is over, I want to celebrate the week that was Mayu Iwatani, the iconic week of the icon, a week that I don't think I can stress this enough, that I will remember forever as a wrestling fan, as a content creator, whatever it may be. Um, when Friday was over, I was at 14 hours, 14 minutes, and sorry, 14 hours, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds of recording audio, and that had to do with All Star Grand Queendom. That had to do with Mayu. That had to do with the week of Joshi that it was. And now that I sit here with it all gone, with it all over, I have a further appreciation for the week that was had by the wrestler that I firmly believe is the greatest of all time. That I have believed to be the greatest of all time for quite some time. I have said it to anyone that's willing to listen. I have said it to anyone that's not willing to listen at this stage of the game. But I needed to record one more time because I wanted to celebrate this week in full force. Now that we've gone Sunday to Sunday, now that we have gone through every bit of what was an emotional roller coaster of a week for Mayu Iwatani, I want to celebrate the week because it's a week that fulfilled me as a fan more than anything else. It is a week that I somehow earned even more appreciation for a wrestler who I think perfectly captures what professional wrestling is supposed to be all about. So bear with me. If you were listening to this, I thank you once again. If you listen to any or all of my content this week, it means the world to me. If you've jumped on this YouTube channel this week, hello, welcome. Um, this isn't going to be the forever case. I'm not going to do every single video on Mayu, but this week, it just feels right. And after I did my check it out video, which you can check out on the YouTube channel right now, I was still left wanting to talk more. I could celebrate that match itself in its own space, but there's so much in the lead up, there's so much after that I just want to fully appreciate this week in one more full swoop. Like, this is a week like any other I've seen for a wrestler. And it's a week that in many ways defines the legacy of Mayu Iwatani to me, that really tells you who she is as a wrestler, who she is as a person, and more importantly, it sets the standard of my appreciation for her, right? This is a week that she felt every emotion, and she displayed every emotion. This wasn't hidden behind anything. This wasn't just backstage emotion or just in a tweet. No, she gave us everything this week, from the first match at All Star Grand Queendom to the final match and backstage promo at Marigold. She gave it to us all. She left everything out there, and that is an appreciation and a level of openness that and I hopefully many others can appreciate. So what we're gonna do with this video, if you're here, is we're just gonna go through the week in order. We're going to recap a week full of like I said, emotions. We recap a week full of ups and downs, surely, for the icon. And we're going to end this the only way we should, and that is with all the support and appreciation for what she accomplished. Because in 1 week, to me, she not only obviously helped change the landscape of Joshi, but she reminded the world why she is truly the greatest. And I think that, along with everything else that's happened, is so special and so important. So I need to talk about it because when I record my podcast this week, Five Star Joe Show, each and every Friday, right here on this YouTube channel, I'm going to talk about the match again. I'm going to talk about the show in full. That was Marigold's Cork and Hall show on Sunday. But this way, this way I can really just focus on this one final time and really, again, give the appreciation that I feel I need to. I feel I need to. So thank you everyone who continues to listen. Thank you everyone who continues to support. It means the world to me. So without further ado, let's get to the iconic week of the icon, Mayu Iwatani. What a week it was. And that, of course, all starts with the match between her and Syuri at All Star Grand Queendom 2025. As I've talked about throughout this week, this match hit an emotional level I never prepared myself for going into it. It was the moment Mayu made her entrance, because when Syuri makes her entrance, there is a importance, right? You just have that big match feel. You have that appreciation and love for what Syuri brings to the table. And then for myself, as I watch Mayu go down the aisle, and I watch Mayu, who, you know, I think has been so good for the most part, especially in this past year of, maybe just moving forward, right? That emotion finally peeked through in full force. There were tears, there was just really the beauty of what wrestling can be is the realness of what wrestling is. And this was the realness at full force. And watching this match and feeling the atmosphere of this crowd, again, you can't replicate it. There was a feeling within that building, 7,503 in attendance of, oh, this is different. This is it. You just could feel that energy, and it raised the match to another level. I know some people are going to look at the missed best poison Rana ever, and that's fine. But the beauty of that for me is in many ways the complete run of Mayu, the complete 14 years in stardom, all put into one. And that's kind of the beauty of both the matches that she had this week to me. It's why they are on a pedestal to me, because she, in some way, showcased what her career has been within two singular matches against two different opponents, two opponents who, mind you, have all the respect in the world for her, and she very clearly has all the respect in the world for as well. This match had the violence, it had the drama, it had the excitement. It felt like that final match, right? In some ways, you could just see on Mayu's face, do I want this to end, right? Do I want to lose this title? No, I don't. This title is something that she put every possible ounce of her power into, while seemingly neither of the Bushiroad companies were fully invested in that belt. She put everything she could. I'm not going to go through all the competitors she faced again. I don't need to do that. You know what the reign has been. But she raised the bar for this title. Yes, it says IWGP. So instantly people are going to know. People are instantly going to pay attention. But it takes a champion to make it matter. And that's what Mayu did. So, in many ways, the emotions were there for her as this was the end of a 2-year journey for her, making this belt matter against all odds. And it was only more fitting that she did it against Syuri, the same woman that she faced on January 4th, 2024, after being denied wrestling in the Tokyo Dome. It was only fitting for these two on the biggest stage Stardom has ever had to have this match for this title 2 years into a legendary reign and complete that story to perfection. That is what this match accomplished. That is what this match set out to do. And that is what this match absolutely delivered on. When Mayu hits that two-step dragon suplex, that is the realization of, for me and maybe for many others, this run is over. This run in Stardom is over. And now that you look back at that match, maybe you didn't feel it at the time, go back and watch it. I think you get a further appreciation for what that moment was. The two-step dragon suplex in many ways has been the staple of Stardom, the staple move of Stardom, because when that move is hit, it's over. And it wasn't over this time because Syuri had become greater because of Mayu Iwatani. And Mayu Iwatani had reached her end of this run, of this incredible 14 years. And it was Syuri's time to call herself IWGP Women's Champion. And I look back at this match, and it was, for me, in the bubble, in the moment, a match that outdid everything else I've seen this year. Why? Because of the emotional investment in that match for myself, because of the emotions in the wrestlers themselves, because of the action themselves. For me, it went so further beyond just the epic main event. No. There's so much more there. There was so much more beauty and grace and greatness to that match because that's what they do. And they both have so much respect for each other. They wanted this to end the right way. The emotions of that post match for Mayu, again, this is going to be a consistent conversation point throughout this video. They stuck with me. It was realization, it was, obviously some sadness, maybe some fulfillment that this is over. I've done it. I did everything I could. But it's just a mixture of everything, right? You see it within her because as she's speaking, as she is talking about, now that I've lost, now it's time for Mayu Iwatani to go down a new path. You see her struggle with her words and have a laugh, but also be on the brink of tears. And again, that is the art of Mayu. She is so natural. She is so herself and unapologetically. Is that even the word? But she's always Mayu. And that was something that I feel like you saw more and more throughout this week. Every bit of this week was her being herself. And I think, again, that is the beauty of pro wrestling at its best. That is the beauty of Mayu Iwatani and the greatness that she brings to the table. That's the greatness of this match. And it's why, for a good week, I sat there and I said, is this my favorite match of the year? Just because of the emotional investment and the incredible action and everything that's gone in it. Is this my match of the year? That question was answered today, that it's not. But for a good week, I sat there and I thought to myself, I think it is. Because, like many who obviously have the love and appreciation, and rightfully so, for Tam Nakano, that was me with this Mayu run. This was the end of a 14-year run in Stardom, a 14-year run in Stardom that put me, or let me rephrase, allowed me to fall in love with Joshi wrestling. It's a run that I went through when I got into Stardom and Joshi. It's a run that I go back and watch and appreciate because It's just a one of one type run. It's a run that will, to me, never be replicated. Um, you know, I have a overall content plan to go down the history of Mayu Iwatani's career somewhere down the line in the future. Um, and I kind of was waiting for this moment to fully invest in that idea. And it's an idea that will come to pass. But if you haven't watched all 14 years, if maybe you've only watched part of her Bushi or whatever, go back and watch. There's a reason these emotions are there. There's a reason this was so emotional for her. And it's because she left it all out there. She went from someone who was not the best rookie, not the second best rookie, not the third. Like, you look at her class, she was pretty damn close to the bottom, and yet now you sit here all these years later, and it's undoubtable who the very best was through sheer will, determination, not giving up, and just the ability to reach greatness. That is the run of Mayu Iwatani in Stardom, and that is the run that I and many others will remember. And as I look at this photo and I see her do the Stardom logo, the Stars logo, you know, put the S in the air that one final time. You could see the happiness on her face, despite the emotions, despite the tears, despite everything that she had before this match, after this match. This is how she said farewell to the fans in attendance on that night. It was still Mayu through and through, still fighting through, still being the bright spot, still being the bright light uh, of Stardom continuously to the very, very end of her run. And it was truly, truly special. Now, the next step of this iconic week for Mayu is very simple. It wasn't from there just her and Marigold, obviously. She had to announce that this was over. She had to make it known her time in Stardom is up. And they announced this press conference pretty soon after All Star Grand Queendom. It was going to be the All Star Grand Queendom post press conference, right? You know, you had Starlight Kid there, you had Micah there, you're setting up matches, Sayaka Crowder there, but it was ending with Mayu Iwatani. And obviously at the time, Mayu Iwatani had just lost the title. So it was reality setting in for many. It was reality setting in for her, I'm sure. And as I look back at this press conference and the just pure feeling of sadness for Mayu at first, it was a lot. It goes hand in hand with the match because, again, it is the reality of this is over. This is it. I am making a move that anyone and everyone should appreciate. I understand if you are a Stardom fan and you may be bummed that Mayu is no longer part of Stardom. I can understand that, but I I will always say you should support talent over anything else, and you should support the wrestlers and what they want to do. And she knew at this moment this is what she wanted to do. Like I said, that there was no part of her that was going to tear down a place that she put every bit of her past 14 years in, a place that she has been since she was 18 years old. That was never going to happen. And even still, even after leaving this company, she she looks at Stardom and she knows what that company was and what that company was for her and what life it gave her, right? Stardom Stardom is so different now from 5 years ago. Stardom is so different now from 3 years ago. Um, but the constant was always Mayu Iwatani. And this end of an era, this her saying farewell. She could feel it. The people could feel it. You could know everyone on this roster could feel it. When she announced she was leaving, you saw so much outpouring of love and care for her. And again, I can't stress this enough, but the reason I'm doing this is to just get us to that final match of this long week, because that match I feel like was her letting everything out from this past week in a way that only she can, and that is through her art form that is pro wrestling, her art form that she has made hers for 14 years, the art form that I firmly believe she is truly the greatest at. There will never be a wrestler I watch that will match the feeling, match the incredible ability that she has at putting everything into 20 minutes, 14 minutes, 10 minutes, and bringing you in for the ride. It's why she's the greatest, and it's why, as I watched this press conference back, I felt all the emotions. The emotion I was for her was happy, and I've said this all week. The one word that has continuously come to mind this week for me was happiness, because when Thursday came around, after she had thanked Stardom, she, you know, spent a couple days saying, I love my dogs, I love my cats, I love doing puzzles, I'm keeping myself busy, I've joined a dating app, all these different things. There was only one reality that made sense. There was only one reality for this jump to make sense. I know people had thrown all the different possibilities that most wrestlers go down, right? Most wrestlers go down the very certain path of signing the big money deal and calling it a day. Mayu Iwatani is not most wrestlers. Mayu Iwatani, to me, for reasons the greatest, and this is why her iconic week is a legacy week, because she, of course, made the decision to join Marigold, something that, as I've said time and time again, was a year in the making. And I don't know if you'll ever get a press conference. I don't know if you'll ever get a wrestler as open as she was, as she sat down at this press conference and told the world why this was her decision. There was press there was all these different things, but at the end of the day, Mayu Iwatani, again, fourth time, all four times having tears in her eyes because of the emotion that this brings, because of the personal connection, especially this brings now, right? In many ways, she returned home. And many people will either watch this video or say Stardom was her home. Stardom was her home. Um, that changed a year ago. It no longer felt like home for her. And the moment she set foot in Marigold, there was pure joy, there was pure happiness, there was just every emotion that you hope comes at the end of the sadness that she experienced in her first two events of the week was here. Laughs, laughter, happiness, all these different things. And the reason that this press conference sits with me is because of then what she went to do in the match. She said all these different things, all these very, very telling things. I'm here to be a savior. I'm here to be the face of this company. I'm here to lift up this company. At the end of the day, she perfectly said in this press conference, Stardom is the greatest promotion. I am not trying to take anything away from the company that, again, I was part of and built and called home for so long. That was never and has not at all been part of this journey for her this week. She has never taken away from that. But what she has said is that she wants to make Marigold great. She wants to make this great, and she wants to be the one leading the way to do that. I sit here and I think to myself, there's a lot of uh, there's a lot of insanity in some ways to just the reality of how truthful she was. Because again, it feels like with wrestlers, you don't always get the full truth, if not at all. Um, but she recognizes what Marigold is. She went as far to say it had an indie feel. It felt like early stardom to her. And that is the feel. A lot of these wrestlers are new. A lot of these wrestlers are green. And she is coming in here to make them better, to make the promotion better. And how do you do that? You lead by example, you raise the bar, and you set the new standard of what this can be. Because when you put the greatest of all time into a situation, she is going to do that by default. And there is something so special about that part of this press conference. There's something so special. Again, I sit here and I just think back to that night when and if you didn't know, I did record. You could look on the YouTube channel, Mayu Iwatani Signs with Marigold. I talked all about it. I shared my happiness for her and just how wonderful that press conference was. But as you sit back after her first match and you again look at it, she isn't hesitating to live up to what she said. She isn't hesitating to go out there and do this by herself. She's not going out, it's one of those things where she's going to get her hands dirty to make it happen. She's going to put in the work so others put in the work with her. And you add in the fact that she's like, yeah, by the way, while I want to lift up Marigold, while I want to lift up these wrestlers, while I want to train these wrestlers to be better and improve and all these different things, there's still the me aspect of this, which was really the sugar on top of what I'd say is a perfect press conference. She didn't hesitate to say, I'm going for the Grand Slam. The Marigold Grand Slam is something I am coming for. Superfly Championship, Twin Star Championship, United National Championship, Marigold World Championship. All four of those I am coming for. I am going to be Grand Slam champion in Stardom. I am going to be Grand Slam champion in Marigold. I am going to be that. When you watch Mayu in this press conference again, you feel that joy, and there's so many funny moments of her just asking, Rossi, does Marigold need Mayu Iwatani? And he's always like, yeah, that's why you're here. And there's appreciation again for that. I say appreciation a lot because that's all I can say when watching this wrestler do what she does. And when you sit there and again you take in the emotions and you take in the reality that has set in, that Mayu Iwatani is no longer the icon of Stardom, but rather she is now the Joshi Puroresu ace, or the Joshi Puroresu icon. And the beauty of what Mayu always says is she never actually uses the word ace. She called herself, she'll be the face of this company, the savior of this company, the icon of this company. She never uses that word ace. It's just a specialty to Mayu Iwatani. Because so many wrestlers want to be the ace, right? For the first year in Marigold, that's all you ever heard about, right? Syuri obviously called herself the ace. Utami said she was the ace. All these, Mayu's not here to be the ace. She's here to be the icon. She's here to set the bar, and that is what she's doing. This press conference again, mixed with the other press conference, it's a roller coaster of emotions. But at the end of the day, I couldn't have been happier when this presser ended, because it, of course, set the stage for the main reason I want to do this one more time, is to give love for everything that happened on Sunday at Korakuen Hall. Everything that happened on Sunday, of course, was her debut match. Her debut match at Corkin Hall, over 12,000 in attendance, screaming Mayu Iwatani. There for Mayu. Every bit of her merchandise sold out outside of, I think, portraits, they said. Um, it was a fever pitch. It was a special feel. It was something that, and a show that I'm going to fondly remember, much like I did with Marigold Fields Forever last year. The first show that they did last year, that one sticks with a lot of people. I think if you dove into Marigold, because, you know, it set the bar of what this can be. And for me with Marigold, it was always, this can be great, but it's missing something. Julia and Syuri both served as incredible bridges to Mayu. That's what they were. They were bridges to get the top star here. And obviously they had to wait a year. They had to wait one more year, but now we were here. And as someone who always believed this was going to be the reality, it was surreal. It really was. It was just surreal to see her make her entrance, new theme song, which is just a adjusted version of her normal theme song. So I'm fascinated to see if we have the same for her Savior theme song. The big Mayu theme. We'll have to wait and see there. But again, when it comes to the feeling of her walking through that stage, you can ask people. I watched this, I was talking to some people while this match was coming around, and I did not speak to anyone the moment the entrances started, because this entrance alone stopped me in my tracks. This entrance alone, it was everything. It was everything. It was, again, it was a perfect moment to watch. I said this on Twitter. It was an entrance to never forget, a match to never forget, a moment to never forget. She waited so long for this, and I get emotional thinking about it, because there was a feeling of simply gratitude on her face, and just feeling that love from the crowd, and feeling that love surely from being here and having to wait to be here, but the fact that it's now happening, that's what matters, right? We could talk about, we have, and we could talk more and more about the year of waiting, blah blah blah, but it doesn't matter anymore. She's here. She's here, and the emotions were shown in every which way. There was no part of her that didn't hold anything back. She let it all go there when, and if you are someone who maybe watches matches and you maybe skip entrances, this is an entrance you need to see, because the tune from going from, Nanae's passion pumps you up, like, right, her entrance pumps you up, and then you watch Mayu walk out here, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. I get goosebumps thinking about it, because it was a moment. It was a moment in time, this match from start to finish, and seeing how everything changed in her emotions, in the crowd, and how they felt. This is why they were here. And that's why she is here. Put eyes on this product, put eyes on these wrestlers, and raise the bar. Up until this point on this show, everything hit a higher level than I expected. Everything reached a certain point where you said to yourself, or at least I said to myself, they're really working. Like, they know the feeling of this match. They feel how big this crowd is. They get it, right? And that could even date back to the Cork in last week, where I feel like the bar was raised for them mentally, physically, whatever it may be. When you saw them in the ring, everything was just clicking a little bit more. And it's the saying of business picks up, right? Business is about to pick up. Business picked up in every way when this entrance hit, when she got in that ring, because this was this was happiness in pure form. This was greatness in pure form. I think when I watched this back, which I did soon after I've watched everything, the post match, everything, I you just realize like again what this meant to her, and that alone should tell you this is her right move. Uh, Again, that has been my one thing this week. Like I have celebrated and appreciated and sang to everyone in the world how she is the greatest of all time, how this is the move that's right, all these different things. And I don't think anything could have shown that more than the image that is on your screen now, the post, everything. At the end of the day, what does Mayu Iwatani do? How does she do her best talking? It's by telling her story in the ring, whether it be against Io Shirai, whether it be against Syuri, whether it be against Nanae Takahashi, Kagetsu. She's always been a storyteller by doing so in the ring. That's when everything is her game, right? And making that signature baseball pitch to the crowd and setting the stage for what was going to be an unbelievable match. I can't stress enough how incredible this match was, because watching it back and looking it back, this is a match that is Mayu's career in a nutshell. It felt like honestly, it felt like the match you would have expected, a few more years after the last time they faced. They haven't faced each other since 2012. It's been 13 years that Nanae Takahashi and Mayu Iwatani faced each other. And Nanae so perfectly brings that into the conversation in the post match when she called her the crying girl. Like she's like, you're still that, you're still that to me. And the love that these two very clearly had for one another after just destroying each other through Cork and Hall just it was so special. It was so special. And as I start to get choked up here, not because of sadness, but because of just pure joy of thinking about this match and seeing what these two do in this match. It is the Mayu classic. I said this on the check it out. To the closest thing you could compare this to, I think, is that of the Takumi Iroha matches that Mayu had in 2020, the last time she was World of Stardom champion. There was a level that was being raised. It was, I'm on the defense for once. Mayu hasn't had to be an underdog or the one fighting from underneath like this in so long. And Nanae is the perfect person for this because of the way she wrestles and the violence she brings to the table. This is one of the great matches in either of their careers. I'm not going to say the greatest, but it is legitimately like top of the line. If you said this was anyone's best match, they would be grateful that this was their best match. It's the greatest match in Marigold's history. Obviously, a 1 year history, but it is. I never knew if there was going to be anything that surpassed the Io versus Tommy match to me in terms of raw emotion, in terms of the excitement and the thrill and the love for what that was. But this match, before it was even over, I just knew. I just knew because, again, there was love here. There was passion here. There was fulfillment. There was, here's the word again. I'm sure you've heard enough. There was happiness. I'm sure you've heard this word plenty throughout this conversation. I know how many times I've said it. Appreciation. This was maybe for really the final time in Mayu's career, a way to wrestle someone not only older than her in from her history, but someone that obviously she learned under. Um, the only other option, and hopefully this happens someday, will be that long awaited rematch with Io Shirai. That's the only other one. But I think the beauty again of what this match tells and what this story tells is that Mayu is here again to be everything Marigold needs. You watch it in her performance, right? It is showing the roster, it is showing the fans, this is what you're gonna need to expect moving forward. This is what you're gonna need to live up to moving forward. I am telling you all this through my actions rather than my words. My words only can go so far, but when I go out there and have this match and I have this crowd reacting the way I do, this is what this promotion can be. This is what Joshi can always be. My biggest take away from this entire week, and it's Mayu saying it perfectly. This isn't about competition. This isn't about anything other than making Marigold great for Mayu. And that is what she is set out to do. The final stretch between these two, the nastiness of the headbutts, the craziness of the back and forth action, the slaps across each other's faces, the hurricanrana from the top, the double stomp from the top, the moonsault that crashed right onto Nanae's face, all these different things, fighting through the crowd. One of my favorite points of this match is when they're fighting through the crowd and Mayu's just like, she is tacked, she is done. She chops Nanae and she lands on one of the chairs in the Corkin stands and she just takes a tumble. And it's like that's Mayu. Right? Everything that happens in this fits. Everything that happens in this is perfect. Everything is what this match needed to be until the very end. And honestly, some people may have wanted her to win with the two-step. I thought the perfect end to this was in many ways beating her senior by just outsmarting her, by getting that quick hurricanrana roll up to getting that and getting the three fall and winning the match. Nanae Takahashi does not lose a lot. She barely loses it at all. But this was a match that when the match was over and you saw the reaction that she had, the love that she had for Mayu, you knew this meant as much to her as any match she has had, maybe in her career, as certainly any match that she's had on her retirement road. We are literally days away from Nanae's retirement, less than 3 weeks. And yet I sit here and I watch this and you're reminded this is again the greatness of Joshi wrestling. This is what Joshi wrestling can do that I feel like no other part of this sport can do so perfectly. And it is go out there, put on an absolute slugfest, epic, unbelievable, wonderful match. And when it's all over, we can hold hands, we can cry together, we can celebrate together, and we can show an appreciation, love for each other that you can't have anywhere else. It's what makes this match to me perfect. It's what makes this match to me the match of the year. And it's why this iconic week of the icon was so perfect and was so, so important to her legacy. Her final match in Stardom is a classic. Her first match in Marigold is not only a classic, but what I think to be the very best in company history. To get to the post-match aspect of this, these two embracing, not just holding each other's hands, but Mayu obviously getting to her own and realizing, oh my God, what did I just go through? Right. That's one thing, but it's them hugging in such an emotional moment. Oh man, it was so perfect that this book ended, right? Her and Syuri embraced the way they did, and now her and Nanae just just it was so amazing. It really was. If you read the words of Nanae Takahashi again, you get a further appreciation for what these two mean to each other and what this match meant to each other and how she is crying there, sitting there and crying and loving every minute of what this was. And M Mayu in her post-match press conference, she said, "I don't feel regret leaving Stardom. I fought Nanae today and got a feel for the atmosphere of this promotion, and I think that everything from the first match to the main event was packed with Marigold-ness, very fitting for her. She wants to be the gateway for more people to see Marigold for the first time and get hooked, and I want Marigold's scent to spread. Women's wrestling is starting from here. I want Marigold to be the best promotion in the world with my own hands. No one, no, with everyone's hands." And I think that part's so meaningful. I think that part's so important. While yes, she's here to be the savior and someone who, again, fills in and saves the day for this company, she wants it to be everyone. And maybe the final line from her post-match comments is this: "And Nanae Takahashi. She will retire at Yogi, but we have inherited Nanae Takahashi's passion, and we want to fight from now on without letting that passion fade." That's why this meant so much to Nanae. That's why this meant so much to Mayu. You know, people can get a laugh and chuckle out of passion, but it is something that truly, truly means a lot. And it's why, the sign off of Shine Forever, Marigold, Passion is so perfect. That should be the saying moving forward because then I paved the way, right, for Marigold this first year. She, in many ways, from day one to what will be her final day at the second anniversary show or whatever anniversary, first anniversary show, Shine Forever, she paved the way in her final year of her wrestling career for this new promotion, for these wrestlers. Passion will live on, and Mayu will be the one to bring that passion, and she will be the one to push that passion. And again, that is the beauty of this company. Um, it it's the story of us moving forward. It's the story of this company moving forward. Mayu is going to lead the way, and now Mayu goes from wrestling her past to wrestling her future. This was the, in many ways, ideal way to wrap this up. And that is, of course, Victoria Yuzuki, her former protege, the woman who has consistently brought up the name Mayu Iwatani over the past year. And since the day she debuted, they will face off for the Superfly Championship to go head to head to compete with the intention of stealing the show at Shine Forever, to compete with the intention of having that protege versus teacher match, very similar to what we just saw between Mayu and Nanae. It's like I said, it now flips, right? There is no more. Maybe this was the last time that Mayu wrestles a senior of hers, right? In terms of experience and, familiarity. And now she has to be that for Victoria Yuzuki, someone who has idolized her, someone who has very clearly been inspired by her in her in-ring. It's perfect. It's the ideal way to end an iconic week. But like I said, it all truly ended with Shine Forever, Marigold, Passion. And there's going to be so much that comes from this match, this show. Utami Hayashishita has already had comments, right? She is not planning on letting Mayu get this Grand Slam. Obviously, she is the world champion. She is the one that's supposed to be the ace. You want to see these comments. Um, but that's the ride after this iconic week. This video was to celebrate the iconic week, the iconic way that Mayu did something in this past week that I've just never seen or witnessed as a fan. And seeing people, I think, in real time watch her match with Nanae and just walk away being like, yeah, this is where she's supposed to be. That to me means the most just as the fan of Mayu and the one who has again I've been pretty consistent with what I believe is the right place for her and what is right and honestly, what is always right is what she wants to do, and this is what she wants to do. So let her be the gateway to Marigold. Let her be that and bring eyes to a product with so many talented wrestlers who are just learning and growing and becoming greater. That is why she is here. That is why she is home in Marigold. And that is why this is only the beginning of something truly special. We saw the end of something special at All Star Grand Queendom, and today at Marigold's Cork and Hall show as part of the Rising Spirit Tour, we saw something truly special begin. That is why I recorded this, because I wanted to talk about this week and how the bookends were so perfect, not only with Match of the Year contenders, but endings and beginnings. That is what this is. It's a very special time. I recorded for one more hour for the love of the game because I just had to talk about Mayu. I had to show my appreciation for her words and comments and everything she has said. There is no one better to lead a company like this right now. There's not a better person than Mayu Iwatani to do it. We are sitting in a world of Joshi wrestling where it is a new era. It couldn't be more of a new era. Mayu is going to lead Marigold. Stardom's going to be just fine because Stardom at the end of the day is still going to be the biggest company. But as someone who loves Joshi wrestling, and it is 100% the reason I do this, I had to celebrate the greatest of all time one more time. And just to say this, there's an argument Mayu gave everyone 4 weeks, or sorry, 4 months, right? Now it's on. That Wrestler of the Year conversation couldn't be more on. She is coming for the top. She might be at the top. Like I said, 2 Match of the Year contenders, including her match with Nanae Takahashi, which is my match of the year. There's just nothing like what I felt from beginning to end. There's so many great articles out there right now. There's so many great other podcasts out there right now talking about this from other point of view. But for one final time, I had to give my point of view on what this week was for Mayu. It was as iconic as the icon can be. It was as up and down as you would expect in terms of the emotional side. But at the end of the day, you celebrate her by celebrating her wrestling, celebrating her words, celebrating her goals, and celebrating just the incredible, incredible wrestler that Mayu Iwatani is. So, with that, I bid you adieu. I will tell you all you can check out the 5-Star Joshi show that was posted this past Friday. We talked about her joining Marigold. We talked about Meiko Satomura, Tam Nakano retiring. You could just get my instant feedback review from Nanae Takahashi versus Mayu Iwatani from the latest. Check it out over on the YouTube channel if you haven't already. That is different from this. This is a little bit more on the emotional side. That was really a match, move by move type discussion and so on. They're all the same in the end, because at the end of the day, I've talked about Mayu in 3 different videos. This makes it 4. I understand what it is, but listen, my favorite wrestler of all time had the biggest week of her career. So it's only right we celebrate one more time here on the channel. I'll be back this Friday with the 5-Star Joshi show. As I've said in other recordings, I am working on a video to talk about Tam Nakano's legacy from my point of view. That will be out on YouTube very, very soon as well. But thank you everyone for listening. If you listen to another hour of me talking about Mayu, it means the world, because, at the end of the day, this is why I do this. This is why I do this. So shout out to the icon, or should I say the Joshi Puroresu Icon, who is now raising the bar, setting a standard, and putting Marigold fully on the map with her as the face, as the savior, as the icon. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, so long. See ya. Passion.